digital surveillance company uses thought crime methods. And the question is social media helping to bring 1984 to pass? And basically, I'm going to show you the article right here. This is from The Intercept. Twitter surveillance startup targets communities of color for the police, and it's about this corporation or organization called Data Miner. In July, The Intercept reported that Data Miner leveraging its status as an official Twitter partner, the Black Lives Matter protests that surged across the country in the wake of the police killing of George Floyd. They have since been adopted by media outlets, the military, police departments, and various other organizations seeking real-time alerts on chaos and strife. So before I continue on, I'm going to give it to my panels.
I think we're already in 1984. I think we've been there for a long time. If you watch The Social Dilemma on Netflix, we're being surveilled constantly, and our data is being sold for corporate gain, for capitalist gain, and also for these law enforcement officials that can just do whatever they want with the data. Those who watch Westworld, this is like a bootleg Rehoboam is the way I see it. Like this service, it has all of these holes, it has all of these issues, but it's literally being used real time to surveil us and try and figure out who the criminals are going to be before they even become criminals. It's insane. At some point I think they're even pulling data on minors, on teens, because the system that they built isn't even like weeding people out based on their age. So they're just focusing on these lower income areas, trying to get data on even minors, just because they may seem like they're part of a gang or something like that. It's insane.
Yeah, the part that I like the least about this thing is how even unsophisticated it is. Like we talked before about how in the algorithms, people bring their own bias. Yeah. So they're writing to what they know. So they already bringing their own bias into it. But then this data miner company is even worse because they have a lot of people just scraping through Twitter, and it's a bunch of white people looking at neighborhoods they don't even know, being supervised by white cops. They don't know anything about those neighborhoods, and focusing on minority neighborhoods specifically. So it's like they're not even pretending to be unbiased in this time, man.
That's always happened though, right? The color of your skin automatically, or the neighborhood that you live in, it automatically makes you a criminal in their eyes. So
yep.
They want to keep you there. They want to be able to you stay there, and they want to do everything to keep you in that neighborhood. And if they don't keep you in that neighborhood, then they send you to prison.
All right, let me go back to the article real quick and show you some more things. It says, this is interesting. Data Miner's early backers included Twitter and the CIA. That's a red flag right there. Some other things I highlighted. But despite promise of advanced crime-sniffing technology, the company has at times relied on prejudice-prone tropes and hunches to determine who, where, and what looks dangerous. That's exactly what Carlito was talking about just now. Police gang database are typically poorly regulated and have become notorious vehicles for discrimination, policing, unjust sentencing, and the criminalization of children. That's what Izzy mentioned earlier. They're filled with the names of thousands of young people who never actually accused of any crime, but in recent years, social media monitoring has become an important way to fill gang databases. They're not looking for any real justifications to put people in databases. That's why I mentioned that they're using thought crime methods, right? Because they're just looking at a picture, and they're assuming because they see certain things. They might see someone have a gun in a picture, but they might have that legally. And for them to just think that they're in a gang is just, you're thinking on their behalf, on the person's behalf. That's sad.
And at the same time, they're ignoring real gangs. One of the things I read in the article was that the majority of the focus stayed towards gangs that are historically Black and Latino. More effort was put into inner city Chicago gangs than the 3%ers or things related to Aryan Brotherhood. So you could have people with legal guns, they don't care, but you have a whole bunch of militias, which we know per the FBI, they're the biggest threat of domestic terrorism right now. It's all these white militias, and they're not really taking them any seriously.
Yeah, how many white people you see on social media with their AR-15s and their rifles and all this stuff, and Data Miner, because it was developed by white men essentially in law enforcement, it's very easy for them to ignore those types of hits compared to the same exact thing but with a black person involved.
I guarantee you they don't recognize the poor boys.
Yeah, exactly.
The Proud Boys, yeah.
Poor boys. The poor boys. The Proud Boys. You know, I know this thing I mean, I don't think it was the same company, but you know it is BS when the funeral for George Floyd was surveilled.
Wow.
They were surveilling people that were there in support of somebody that got killed by cops, and they're surveilling them because they think what they're gonna do? Try to riot at a funeral? It's like the bias is not even hidden anymore.
Yeah.
We're like Izzy was saying, we're already in 1984. You see the facial recognition systems that are out there. They're biased and they're not that great for when it comes to identifying people of color. Where you have, everybody has an Amazon Echo or equivalent in their house, and they got their Alexa. People got their Ring doorbells that are now shared with the police. Like, we're already universally surveilled, and we've willingly given a lot of our freedom for convenience. And while it has its benefits, like, I got my easy turn-by-turn directions on my GPS, on the flip side, that all that data is completely monitored. So it's pretty scary to see where we're going to be.
And every company does it. So every major, Google, Apple, Amazon, they all do
Twitter,
the same
obviously.
Yeah,
Twitter.
totally. The last thing I want to jump on is I want to show this. Inadequate training combined with strong pressure to crank out content to meet internal quotas and impress police clientele, dazzled by quote-unquote artificial intelligence, presentations lead to predictable problems, creating content in their own heads that isn't there, thinking data miner can predict the future. So yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about, because they're trying to get more contracts and they're trying to impress their clients. They're going to have their Twitter figures just going around and looking for pictures, just totally getting anybody that they can put into this database, and then they could boast, we've added such and such number of people to your database, and the clientele will be happy with that. It all is about the money. It all comes down to the money.
And then they lie to us. The public relations person, he said, the firm's practice of monitoring the speech and activities of individuals without their knowledge on behalf of the police does not constitute surveillance. Then what is?
Yeah.
What is?
Yeah, I mean, most people on Twitter have no idea that this can even happen, let alone that it's happening as a paid service. I mean, we're not aware of when we use these social media sites.
I want to just mention real quick in the chat, Jordan Ryan, he said, in Florida, where I live, the courts use AI to sentence people, and it's been found to have something like 70% disparity between black and white offenders in the sentencing and their
we
bonds.
Were talking about that, I think, last week, where the system was identifying people that were black with minor offenses as higher risk than white people with more severe, more violent offenses for the risk of re-offending. So it's just, I mean, whenever it comes to technology, you're seeing that bias is atrocious.
Yeah.
Why is always Florida and Georgia?
All right, so we're gonna move on.
Listen,
I don't live in Florida. I live in Miami.
Before we wrap up,
go ahead.
Before we wrap up, I do want to, I have some expertise in security and privacy, right? So I want to, not just tell people what the problem is, but tell people what they can do about it. So if you don't mind, I just want to go on a real quick rant where I'm just gonna, list out some things that people should be doing. So,
no problem.
One is, make sure you don't post identifying information on social media if you don't have to. I mean, we're very free with our information, but we don't have to be. So, you don't have to post your location for every picture you put. You don't have to put your name, your full name in your profile, anything like that. You can keep all that private. Use a browser that cares about your privacy, like Firefox or Brave, so that way your data can't be aggregated as much. Get away from Google. DuckDuckGo is another, search engine that does pretty good with privacy. Use a paid VPN service that has been vetted by some other third party, so that they're not storing your data. Be very careful with like the apps that you install and the permissions that you give them. Remove permissions from apps that don't need it, even if you use those apps every day. Instagram does not need your location to function, neither does Twitter. Be sure you do that. Look yourself up online every once in a while just to see what comes up and see if you can remove stuff that that you don't want people finding out about you. If you don't want a stalker to find this information out about you, then don't leave it online, because I mean, essentially, law enforcement is our biggest stalkers.
Totally.
And then just that, I mean, put down the gadgets. You know, turn off your phones, put it away for a while. Like, spend more time in nature, talking to people directly. Just get away from all this social media crap, because I'm telling you, it's killing us.
Totally, I totally agree with that. Go ahead, Carlito. You got one last thing to say?
All I said was facts.
Facts, baby. Hey, stop self-snitching. That's what I say. Stop self-snitching on social media. All right. Let us know in the comments below what you think about, you know, you got 1984 coming out to fruition. What you think is the next step. Let us know in the comments below. Like and subscribe.